Hi, this is Jonathan Alexander. Welcome to the first round of my February Legacy Challenge video report. As you can see, I won the die roll, obviously playing first. My opponent has been known for playing Aggro Loam in the past, so I do have that on my radar. As if you're wondering about the weird format of this report, I made recordings of my Magic Online replays, and now I'm playing these recordings in a video player and commentate over them, because Magic Online is a quality program, and working with replays of Magic Online is really annoying. This is slightly worse for the video quality, but I think it's much more convenient for me to work with, so bear with me. Yes. Okay. I kept this opening hand. It's a pretty good hand. It doesn't have creatures or cantrips. I want to draw into that, but I have 3 counters and a wasteland, and also 3 lands, which is good if my opponent has wastelands. And I think this is a clear keep. I go with fetch into volcanic this turn because in case my opponent is on Stifle suddenly, that's a lot better. My opponent has the Chalice turn 1. I snare because this lets me wasteland my opponent next turn. As you can see, this is what I did. If I daze the Chalice turn 1, I can either waste them and not have outs for another 2-drop, or I can not waste them and keep up snare. Then I don't have anything for a 3-drop rather than force, and this way I get to cover both, which I think is clearly better. As you will see, they have another 2-drop, so I daze that. Much better than force, I think. I don't really need the second land. Here I'm going to wasteland the Caracas because Caracas indicates my opponent likely doesn't have any more lands, because Caracas is a very bad land. It might be a bait, especially with the Mox, but it's a risk I'm worth taking, especially given that I have force in hand. And as it turns out, my opponent does not have another land. I draw Brainstorm. Mox, as you can see, went straight to the graveyard. I wouldn't have countered it even if I had Spell Pierce. I think it's very likely at that point my opponent does not have a land, because they didn't play the Mox last turn. Now I have 2 lands in hand to ditch to Brainstorm and Volcanic Delta open. My opponent has another land and another Chalice, which I'm going to daze. It would be correct to Brainstorm first, but I'll do it the other way around. And this Brainstorm, I'll just put back 2 Volcanics. Might be correct to put back Tropical and Volcanic instead, but it does not really matter. No, I did put back Tropical Volcanic, okay. There was... I don't remember which land my opponent knew. It depends on what they did, which one they did know. Now I'm in a great position with Pierce, Stifle, Force, Ring. I just want to point out that it would have been correct to play Ring. No, I couldn't, because I only had 1 land. But at this point it's correct to play the Ring, because if they have a creature I want to kill, I get to keep up Counterspell next turn, and if I have to main phase the Ring, I can't kill that creature, I can't do both. And I do get punished for that, so that's bad. Still, main phase the Ring, drawing Dismember makes it a little bit slap bad. Now I will end step the Brainstorm because I need to find a creature or land drop I have to discard otherwise. Yeah, I like end step Brainstorm because of the counterspell. If I draw into Lightning Bolt here, I can also just Lightning Bolt my opponent, so I cast Brainstorm off Tropical. And I will keep one of the 2 cards I'm putting back, so I'm just shuffling away the Force. I'm going to jump True Name Nemesis next turn. It would obviously be preferable to cast True Name and keep Spell Pierce and Counterspell, or at least one of them up, but that's likely not happening anytime soon, so I just cast the True Name and get on board and keep the Force. 1 should be enough at this point with my opponent on 2 mana. So here we go with the True Name. And now my opponent has another land, a fetch, which is unfortunate because I have Stifle and Renegade Relia. It has Revolt, which means if a permanent my opponent controlled left the battlefield this turn, they get to return a permanent card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. That would be either Dried Arbor, Mox Diamond, Dark Confidant, or another land. I don't like either of those, so I'll just force pitch Stifle. I think Stifle is the least useful card I have at this point. I don't really mind them getting to 4 mana, it doesn't really change anything. But Spell Pierce still hits Liliana of the Veil or Chalice of the Void if I have it, and I also still have the counter spells. So I prefer to be able to handle actual cards rather than lands at this point. True Name gets in. I have the double Lightning Bolt for Time Walks, Counterspell on the Knight, and here you can see how great Counterspell is. My opponent has Deathrite, which I dismember because I want to keep the Lightning Bolts as Time Walks. Now I have another creature to... it's basically Liliana protection, but also it speeds up my clock. Oh no, it actually doesn't because my opponent's... it did before the fetch, yeah. And now my opponent taps out for Zenith for 3. And I have Spell Pierce and they will concede the game.